You can go out there and make your own money, but it's based on what? You and your efforts, okay? Or you can go ahead and take the time in the front end. It's going to be a lot of what? A lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of resources to put take your energy and transfer to someone else. Increase their skill set, okay? The reason why I was able to build such a fast team very quickly from 2016 to 2019 was not because I was so special. It was because from 2010 to 2015, guess what I was doing? Building teams, losing teams, building teams, losing teams, learning how to transfer the skill set from myself to other people. Now I've built teams to 5, 10, 15, 20 people. They would quit to fucking 5, 10 people. And I would constantly do that, but I would learn something new every time I built a new team. I'm like, oh, don't do that. Oh, don't be too hard on this person. Oh, be a little bit hard on this person. Learn how to deal with this personality. I learned a lot of those different things, right? So there's going to be a lot of work on the front end. The front end is a lot of work because remember, taking your time and putting your effort into someone is a lot of requirement. Like it's a lot of energy. Do you guys agree or disagree? Right? A couple of weeks of training somebody is not easy. As you're producing yourself, it's not as easy as it sounds, but that's how you get good, right? When you're good at closing, you're able to now transfer your skill set to everyone else. But it gets easier when? On the back end, right? Your energy and your time goes down. As a matter of fact, I'll give you guys an example. Do I have to put that much time into, let's say, Christian right now to teach him how to knock or sell? As a matter of fact, I never even taught him how to knock or sell. I did indirectly though, right? And that's the beauty about building a team. You're spreading your risk through multiple people because right now, if you're selling by yourself, all the risk is who? 100% you. Same thing with a solo business owner. A lot of solo business owners have all the risk on who? On themselves. They have all the trade secrets. They know everything about their product. They know everything. Everything is about them. They have everything. But if they stop working, they get hurt, they get sick, something happens to them, what happens to their business? It stops, right? And you might say, well, Michael, it's harder to duplicate yourself. Yeah, it's not easy. But once you learn the skill set, you can duplicate yourself into 10 different people. When you have 10 different people, one can quit, one can get sick, one can be off on vacation, and you still have 6 or 7 other people producing and generating results for you. Does that make sense? That is the mindset of duplicating yourself. That is the only reason why you want to build a team. Outside of the fact that it's fun, outside of the fact that it creates camaraderie and it helps with competition, those are all secondary reasons. But the main reason, a selfish reason why I always built teams was because I did not want to be dependent on my own sales. Now, I don't mind going out there hustling and grinding in the beginning, right? A lot of work is going to be in the front end. It's not easy. It's actually double, triple, quadruple the work in the beginning. Because to build a team takes a lot of effort and a lot of time. But as time goes on and you transfer your skill sets and you build good culture, you build good camaraderie, long term, the effort goes down. Because on the back end, now you have 2, 3, 4, 5 people that can duplicate you. Now you have a squad. Like right now, we can build this team to freaking 100 people like that. Why is that? Because we have multiple people that are able to teach and train and duplicate themselves. What is passive income? When you think of passive income, what is that? Right? First of all, I hate that word. Because in my opinion, I don't think there's anything passive. Even stocks are not passive. Even real estate is not passive. Because at the end of the day, you still have to what? Pay attention to it and look at it. So it's not as passive. It's more passive than active income. There's always some type of activity need to be taken. And if you're not the one that's actively looking at it, someone else is. Right? That's how I look at it. And you still have to kind of keep your mind at it. Like even if you're owner of a multi-million-dollar company, $100 million company, if you're still part of the board, you're not the CEO, it's still a little bit passive, but it's still got to be what? You got to sit down in the board meetings once every month or two and sit down and kind of make decisions, right? So there's always going to be a little bit of time required, but it's definitely better than active income. Better than going out there hustling and grinding 24/7 a day, right or wrong? So that's the mindset. So when you think of building a team, you have to learn how to coach them from where they are at today and help them get to where they want to go. So that's what we're going to talk about, A, growth, right? I learned this from a book that I recently read. It's called Coaching Salespeople, right? It's a great book. And one of the things, this is an acronym called A Growth, right? So this is the foundation of coaching somebody, okay? In order for you to build a team, you have to coach your people. Think of yourself as a coach. When you're a player, you're just having fun, schmoozing, having a great time. But when you're a coach, everything is done for a specific reason. For example, I hang out with my team because number one, I enjoy it. We had a great time last night. But number two, it also builds camaraderie. It builds trust. It builds relationship. You guys get a chance to know me. I get a chance to know you. Like I know more about you because I was able to ask questions and learn about your story and history and the military and stuff like that. I would have never learned that if I would just do it in the office setting. It's just not the same. On an outside setting, you're able to build those relationships, right? You're able to get to know the person on a deeper level. You're able to come over to their people's houses and get to know their families and then get to know who's involved in their life, right? So that's very important. So when you're coaching people, you need to learn how to, when you're building a team, you need to learn how to coach people. And you cannot coach someone if you don't build trust with them. How do you build trust with the people? You go through shit, right? But what do you start with? You have to first what? Start adding value to their life. Nobody gives a shit about you unless you give a shit about them first. So as a leader, you need to give a shit about what? Other people first. You got to think about, okay, I got to think about this person's life. Where is he at? Where is he trying to go? The same thing with a customer, right? It's the same concept. The customer doesn't give a shit about signing up with you. They don't care unless you care about them. And then they really say, you know what? I like this guy. I want to do business with him only, right? If you don't have customers saying, I want to do business with you only, that means you have not built a good enough relationship with them where they trust you and they like you, right? So what does A stand for? A stands for action is needed for change, right? Action is what? That's the action that they need to change. When you're coaching someone, hey, this is the action that you need to create massive change in your life. If I'm coaching you and I'm sitting down with you having a game plan or breaking down your day, I'm not just listening to how your day went, right? Even if you text me, I'm gonna say, okay, here's the actions that you need to take. I need you to do this, 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 and this. I need you to read this book. I need you to read that book. I need you to listen to this podcast. Now let me ask you a question. If you're not reading books because you think that you're too busy, or if you're not reading books because you think you read books when you were back in college, or if you're not reading or listening to any kind of podcast or audio material because you think that that's not what you're trying to do in your life, I'm telling you, you're making a big mistake. I'm not saying you can't coach a team like that. I'm telling you it's much more effective when you're able to, for example, when somebody has a problem, I'm like, oh, read this book. To me, the books are what? They're medication. Sometimes they're vitamins to prevent certain things. Like I may say, you know what, read this book because I already know you're going to have this problem in the next couple of weeks. I'm like, I read this book, so it prevents them from having those mistakes. But how are you able to create action? How are you able to help them and show them they need to make a massive change if you have no idea what the fuck they need to do? So you need to know that. How do you know what needs to get done? You read books, you go through podcasts, you go through audiobooks, right? You learn a little bit about what you're learning about. Every one of you guys should be learning. You should not be watching anything but fucking sales. John Maxwell, you don't need to go anywhere else. Just study John Maxwell till they turn freaking 90. Because that guy has like hundreds of books. He has hundreds of videos of how to be a better leader, right? You can even watch Jocko Willink, right? Military guy, right? Extreme Ownership, great book. Maybe you may relate with him, right? But those are great books to understand what is leadership. Because you're never going to build a team and have passive income or the income that we're talking about when it's not required of your effort if you do not learn how to effectively coach and build a team. Does that make sense? What action do they need to make? It's not just, hey, let's go make money. No, this is what I need you to do this week, this month, this year. You need to know exactly what they need. You need to prescribe them the activity. Next is gap, okay? You need to figure out where they at, right? So next is gap. You need to figure out where are they at and where are they trying to go. You cannot coach someone effectively if you do not know where they are at, right? And you will not know where someone is at unless you build a good relationship with them and build trust with them. No one's going to tell you where they're at, and no one's going to tell you where they want to go, really, because they don't feel like they have to, right? You only go to a doctor you what? You trust. If you trust a doctor, you'll tell him, hey, my asshole hurts. Fix it. And he's going to say, okay, great, this is what I recommend. But he also needs to ask you, okay, what are you trying to accomplish? When you go to a therapist, physical therapist, what are you trying to do? Well, I need to have more mobility in my arms or something. You need to have that kind of relationship where they trust you, but you need to figure out where they're at and where they're trying to go. Does that make sense? If you do not know where they're at, how can you guide them where they want to go if you have no idea where they're at? It's the same thing like a customer, guys. The reason why I did very good in building teams and also in sales, because in sales I figured out, okay, where are they at, where they want to go. And the same thing with a salesperson. A salesperson is somewhere in his life. He's either living with his mom and dad, he doesn't have that much money, he may be broke, maybe have inconsistencies in his relationship, he may have something that's not going on 100%. So you figure that out. Okay, well, where do you want to be? Well, I want to live in Brickell, right? How many times you guys come to my place and you guys get motivated because like, damn, I want to live in Brickell. Or you come down and hang out in Brickell, like, damn, I want to live in Brickell. I pay attention to that. I know who says that, who doesn't. Some of you guys say it, some of you guys don't. So I pay attention to that. So next time if I see a video of Brickell, guess what I do? Send a video to them. Or invite them more often to my place. Now, what about traveling? How many of you guys like traveling? Some of you guys do, some of you guys don't. Like, for example, how many times I send you videos of traveling? All the fucking time. I was like, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? Right? Because I know that's what motivates you. So I'm always thinking about how can I inspire my team? Because I need to figure out where they're at and where they're trying to go. If I know that, for example, his dream is to go to Thailand with me, every time I see a video for Thailand, guess who's the first person that gets a video from me? Because I know that he's thinking about that as an active dream. Now, I'm not saying he's sitting there all day sleeping thinking about Thailand. I'm not saying that. There's other things that are important to him, right? But if I see a nice BMW car or I see any kind of nice cars, guess what I'm doing? Same thing. I'll send it to his ass because I know he likes cars. You gotta pay attention to your teammates, know exactly what they want, right? And know exactly where they're at. If you know where they're at, it's much easier to guide them on the path to where they want to go. A lot of people do not know where their person is at. They have no idea. You know why? Guess why? They don't fucking ask, right? They don't build a relationship. They don't ask. Or they don't care. Because they think that in sales, it's a very, very weird thing in sales. In sales, it's very selfish to some degree. But it's also very selfless when you're dealing with a customer. right? When you're building a team, it's 100% what? Selfless, 100%. Matter of fact, it makes no sense. Like, why? You might think, why would I invest my time into this person? He might quit. Think about that, right? One time I had somebody ask me, why are you investing all your time into all your people all the time? What if they leave you? I said, well, what if they fucking stay here and I don't invest anything in them? Imagine if we didn't do training here. Can you imagine what would he be here? Fuck that. I'd rather take the risk of investing all my life into someone and potentially getting stabbed in the back, potentially, not necessarily, but potentially, right? Because that can happen. But I'd rather have that than not invest anything and then have people stay. So that's the difference of mentality. You need to be investing in your team. So you need to know their gap, where they're at and where they're trying to go. Next, responsibility, okay? If you're coaching somebody, you have to help them understand responsibility. If somebody does not understand the word responsibility, it is very difficult to coach them. When somebody thinks they're always right, I cannot help you. So your job as a leader is to help them understand responsibility. They are exactly where they want to be because they chose to be there. So responsibility is them taking full ownership, not ownership, but taking responsibility of where they're at and why they have what they have and why they're not where they want to be. For example, some of you guys are not creating enough sales. Great. You got to take responsibility for that. And my job as a coach is to help you. When you're helping someone generate appointments, they don't have 5 appointments a day. Your job is to help them take responsibility on why they are not where they need to be, why they are not doing what they're supposed to do. They need to take responsibility of that. I don't mind calling someone out because I don't usually say, hey, Eliezer, I'm going to coach you, buddy. I don't do that, right? They usually say, hey, can you help me out? When they say, can you help me out? I always ask, are you ready for that? Because I don't have time to waste. Are you ready for me to help you? Because if you're ready for me to help you, I will help you. But I don't have time to waste my time. I really don't. If I tell you to do X, you're going to do X. If not, I cannot help you because it's not a good relationship. But you got to build that relationship. You cannot build a team with 2, 3 people. It's very difficult. When you have 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 people, much easier. Group dynamic kicks in. Competition kicks in, right? They're competing for your time now. How amazing would it be when a team is competing for your fucking time to book appointments? If you're a top fucking G closer, right? People will flock to book for you. That's why you had 70-something book for you. Because people know that when they book for you, you're going to get shit done. You're going to be there. You're going to get it done. That's awesome. It's an amazing thing, right? So that's what responsibility. You need to help people take responsibility for where they're at. O stands for ownership, okay? But they have to own their mistakes. They have to own their successes, right? It's very similar to responsibility. That's why I like, R and O are kind of similar. But ownership is what? Them owning their situation. Taking responsibility is a little bit different than ownership. What's the difference between responsibility and ownership in your opinion? Responsibility is an action. It's responsibility, your ability to respond, right? What's the difference between reaction and a response? A reaction is what? A reaction is automatic, you don't think about it. A response is thoughtful. You responded because you paused and you thought and you created action, right? A reaction is automatic. It just happens, right? So do you want to be more reactive in your business or more responsive in your business? Responsive. That's where responsibility, the ability to respond, you take ownership on. It's kind of the similarity, right? You have the right mindset to create the right actions, right? You're responding. You have the ability to respond. You create action with that. Ownership is a little bit different. Ownership is you take ownership for everything that goes on, right? In your business, it's kind of like a noun. It's a mindset, so to say. It's less of an action. It's more of a mindset. Where they want to be, it's their ownership. They got to be responsible for that, right? If somebody thinks that I'm responsible to help them create success, that's not good. I don't want the team to think that I'm responsible for their growth. I am not responsible for your growth, guys. You are responsible for your growth. You got to take ownership of your life. You got to take ownership of your position. You got to help the person you're coaching to understand it is his job to create the results, not the mentor's job. The mentor's going to guide you, but you got to move. You got to create action, and guess what? You can steer that car as it's driving through the highway. Does that make sense? And that's what you got to do with ownership. It's very similar to responsibility. That's why I like putting them together. Next, willingness. Okay, the word willingness is very important. Okay, there's a lot of people that there's 2 types of things you need to know to create results and change in someone's life. Okay, number 1, they have to have willingness. Okay, they have to have the desire. I want to change. I want to get mentorship. I want to do this. I want to get here. I want that. They have to have a willingness. They have to have some kind of desire for that. But number 2, they have to have what? The capacity. A lot of people want to have 10 sales a week, but they're never going to have the capacity because their brain does not work that way. If somebody wants to create success and they have the willingness, but they don't have the capacity, whether it's intelligently, emotionally, or skills-wise, whatever it may be, they're just never going to get there. You have to understand that. They have to have the willingness first, and they have to have the capacity. Does that make sense or no? So willingness is basically your desire to want something, your desire to actually, you know what, I want to change. How many guys went through a situation in your life, you're like, okay, I got to change my life. Okay, something happened, you had a willingness. If there's no willingness, can I help them? Can I coach somebody? They're not going to do it. They have no desire. That's why I always say I look for 3 things when I want to coach somebody. They have to have a what? A burning desire, a coachable mindset where they're open-minded. They got to have the capacity and be open-minded. And number 3, they have the what? Work ethic. I can't fucking steer a parked car. God forbid. If they're not willing to work hard, I cannot do anything to help them. And when I say work hard, not work hard one day and then the next day off. No, I'm talking about consistently work hard. When you think of burning, what do you think of burning? A building burning, something burning. Is it like a fire and it dies out? Something that is burning does not die out. It continuously burns. As a matter of fact, the best way, if you think of, when I think of burning, you think of a red flame or you think of that blue flame in the stove? Blue flame is actually hotter than the red flame. The red one is all over the fucking place. That's inconsistent. But when it's burning desire, it's that blue flame and it's perfect. You have to have the willingness. They have to have the willingness to actually change something. Otherwise, you are wasting their time. Okay? Now, if they don't want to, what are you going to do? Nothing. Let them choke themselves out. Or let them bang their head against the wall. They're going to waste a lot of time. It's painful. Listen, as a coach, it's painful to see your mentee or your person you're coaching, your player, bump their head against the wall and bleed. But someday it is necessary. Because once they bump their head, they go, you know what? They come back and say, you know what? I fucked up. Now I have the willingness. But once you have the willingness, it's very easy to help you in all other areas, right? They have to have the desire. Because if they don't have the desire, listen, a man's going to do what a man's going to do. True or not true? A woman's going to do what a woman's going to do. You cannot force anyone to do anything. I don't care how long you want to force them. You can force it for a month. You can force it for a week. You can force it for a couple of days. But to force it for a very long time is very fucking difficult. Because people have their own desires and their own emotions. They are driven by internal reasons. So once they have that internal reason, boom, game over. Okay? You have a lot you can do with that person. Next is trust. You have to be able to trust them and they have to be able to trust you. Right? It's got to be a two-way street. If you do not trust them and they do not trust you, could there be any kind of growth? Absolutely. You cannot coach them when you don't trust. As a matter of fact, they won't listen to you if they don't trust you either. There has to be trust. How do you build trust? How do you build a foundation of trust? Anybody know that? With anything. Deposits, right? You're adding value. You're adding deposits. How do you build trust? By consistently doing the same thing over and over again. By adding deposits. Adding deposits. If I call you a couple times a week and just think about you, what does that do for you? I actually care. Great. That's building a little. Now he's my friend, kind of, right? It's building that relationship. When you got sick and I thought about you, I texted you a message. That was like, oh, thank you for thinking of me that I was fucking sick. That is a thoughtful thing to do. I wasn't doing it to build trust, but naturally, what does it do? Over time, we spend time together, we go eat together, we go to the gym together, we start talking about things together, we naturally start building what? A relationship. When you build that relationship, you build trust. And when you say you're going to do something, you do it. If they say they're going to do something, they do it. And when there's congruency in that action, guess what happens? You build trust. Now, can you break trust? Lying, stabbing, making people feel that you don't care about them, right? Saying one thing and doing complete opposite behind their back, right? Saying, yo, I got your back, bro. But the second you need their back, like, what the fuck? Also not holding yourself responsible, right? Doing the things that you need to do as a leader. Remember, just as much as you can lose, the mentee can lose trust in you, right? Just as much as you can lose trust in mentoring somebody, they can lose trust in you as well very quickly. If you say you're going to go out there and crush it and you don't fucking crush it, that's losing respect. Because nobody cares about what you did 16 years ago. They care about what you're doing today. It's very hard to remember, oh yeah, 1999, you used to do this and that. Nobody cares. What are you doing today? What's the next thing? Honesty. Okay? What's the difference between honesty and truth? Trust, sorry. Honesty is, for example, being open in certain situations. Right? For example, you didn't work that day because you fucking felt horrible, you felt sick, whatever. Are you going to be open about it? If not, you're not shooting me in the foot, you're shooting yourself. Who are you shooting in the foot? Your fucking self. Right? When you lie about certain situations and you think, no one's gonna fucking know, I don't want to share that information. I'd rather you say, yo, coach, I don't want to share that fucking information with you. It's none of your business. Or, hey, I don't feel comfortable sharing that with you than saying some bullshit. Because a lot of people, they do, because they respect the person so much, they just make white lies and they say stupid shit that they don't fucking believe in because they don't want to, I don't want to hurt that guy's feelings. I don't want to think I'm an asshole. Like, I don't want to tell him something. Like, for example, a doctor may say, when was the last time you had sex? As an example. I don't know if you guys ever had a doctor. When was the last time you had sexual intercourse? Instead of, and you may have been, 17 years old, and you haven't had sex in a year, but you wanted to look cool in front of the doctor, you're like, 2 weeks ago. That's not being honest because you didn't want to feel embarrassed, you basically lied to the doctor, right? So honesty is about being open no matter what. Even if you feel uncomfortable, say, listen, I don't feel comfortable sharing that information. Don't take it disrespectfully. I love you, I trust you a lot. Just when it comes to that, I feel like that, it's personal. That's okay. And what will the coach do? 100%. Trust is through relationships, but integrity is basically honesty. Okay? So let me ask you guys a question. If you have these aspects when you're coaching somebody, do you think they're going to listen to you? Do you think if they have these things, they'll listen to you? Right? So just as much as they need to have this, as you're coaching them, you need to have those things as well. Right? You cannot expect someone to have something you do not have in terms of qualities of character. Does that make sense? Skill set, everyone can have different skill sets, but qualities of character, I cannot expect people to be responsible or take action if I'm not willing to do the same thing. If your team does not listen, whose fault is that? 1,000,000% your fault. 100%. If they don't have the willingness, you got to look at it from your perspective. Why are they not willing to listen to me? It's either I don't have the skill that they need, I don't have the relationships that they need with them, I don't have something they don't want, right? Because we talked about this last time. Like, people follow you for 3 reasons. Either you know something, either you have something, or either you what? Do something that they actually want to know how to do. Those are the only reasons why somebody follows you, right? In the beginning. Then you build up, and like the follow levels of leadership, you earn their respect, you earn their trust. Now they follow you for who you are, what you're about, and what you kind of stand for. It's the same concept. Like, if there's no willingness in that individual, you got to figure out, you got to do a self-audit yourself. Say, okay, why does he have no why is he not willing to listen, right? Or why is he not willing to create action? Remember, I want you guys to remember this for the rest of your life. People will always do what they want to do. Always. So if you see someone not doing something, it's because they don't want to do it, right? It's not because they don't have a dream. They may have the dream, but at that moment, there's something going on in their life where they're like, you know what? They don't believe. They don't feel like this action is going to get them closer to that result. It could be a million things. It's your job to figure that out. So when I see guys that are out there crushing it, I'm pouring gas in their fucking fire. When I see someone that's not creating action or they're struggling, I have a conversation, say what's going on with them. I'm trying to figure out what's going on in their life right now that's stopping them from creating action to go where we need to go. We appreciate you on YouTube. If you have not subscribed to the channel, do me a solid subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next video.